Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're digging into a really crucial idea in leadership, and we're pouring our insights from a brand new article by Phoenix Performance Partners.
Right.
It's called Head Knowledge to Heart Fire, Inspiring Conviction. And our mission today really is to get past that surface level talk about management and, really unpack the difference between just getting commitment from your team and actually inspiring deep, unshakable conviction.
And that difference is
Indeed.
everything.
It really is. For you listening, this isn't just some academic idea. It really determines if your influence lasts for a quarter or if it genuinely transforms your organization for a generation. The article kicks off with this great quote from Goethe. Until one is committed, there is hesitancy, the chance to draw back, always ineffectiveness.
How classic.
It is, and that idea of commitment, making a decision and just acting on it, that's what most of us are taught to aim for. But this piece really challenges that. It says, the best leaders, the truly transformational ones, they see a deeper truth beyond just getting that sign-off.
Exactly. I mean, Goethe's quote, it's a great starting point. It's sort of the floor for effective action. But what we're talking about is the ceiling of influence.
I like that.
And the question for every leader right now has to be, are we just appealing to the brain with, spreadsheets and data points, or are we truly capturing the heart with a real vision? And this deep dive, well, it's meant to give you a roadmap for making that shift from what they call head knowledge to heart fire.
Okay, so let's unpack that, because we use commitment and conviction almost interchangeably, but they're in completely different worlds. Psychologically. So when we say someone is convinced, what does that actually mean?
Being convinced is, it's a purely logical exercise. It's all about appealing to the rational mind. That's the head knowledge part of the title.
Okay.
So when a leader convinces someone, they've successfully, laid out the compelling data, the arguments, the risk analysis.
And probably the incentives, the what's in it for me.
Exactly. A clear incentive structure.
So if I show my team the incredible ROI, the cost benefit looks good, and there's a clear path for promotion, they rationally agree to move forward. They commit.
That's it, precisely. The result is a logical agreement, but, and this is critical, the relationship is transactional.
Transactional.
Yeah. They're on board as long as the numbers hold up and the bonus looks good. But the second the market shifts or a competitor makes a better offer, that commitment is suddenly very, very vulnerable.
We see that all the time. People doing just enough to fulfill their side of the bargain.
Because that's all the transaction requires.
Okay, so let's contrast that with conviction.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's on a whole other level. It's something that transcends the spreadsheet.
It absolutely is.
Yeah.
Conviction doesn't come from someone talking you into it. It emerges from a deep internal transformation. That's the heart fire. It's an unshakable belief.
So the person doesn't just agree with the purpose.
No, they become the purpose. They internalize it so deeply that it actually gets woven into their identity.
Wow, okay, that's a massive distinction. So it's less about, signing on the dotted line and more about adopting a whole new way of seeing yourself.
Exactly. For someone who is truly convicted, backing down isn't just. It's not just the bad option. It feels impossible. Because to draw back would mean violating who they are, their very self-concept. The purpose isn't just a job they do from 9 to 5. It's who they are when they walk in the door. It's their moral compass.
So we have commitment, which is this temporary action based on logic, versus conviction, a full-on identity transformation based on an internal belief. The distinction is clear, but here's where it gets really interesting for me. How does this actually manifest when things go wrong? Because they always do, right?
Yeah.
In any big project, something will break.
And that's the stress test, as the article calls it. Under pressure, the difference is it's just stark. Commitment is brittle.
It breaks.
It wavers, absolutely. The company announces surprise budget cuts, a key project fails, and suddenly that commitment just evaporates. It was a fair weather friend because the data that convinced them is now pointing in the wrong direction.
But conviction endures.
It does more than endure. It actually uses the challenge as fuel. The source material explains that conviction turns obstacles into opportunities. Setbacks aren't defeats that prove the plan was wrong. They're setups for a comeback.
Right.
When the purpose is part of your identity, a challenge just proves how important the work is. It deepens your resolve.
Okay, but hold on. If conviction is so tied up with identity, isn't there a risk there? A risk of it becoming inflexibility. If the company needs to make a massive strategic pivot, a necessary change in the, what is that, heart fire, just
Mhm.
become a wall of resistance because the team is so convinced their original path was the only right one?
That is a fantastic question, a critical challenge. And the key is that true conviction, the real heart fire, isn't rooted in the tactic.
Yeah.
It's rooted in the higher vision. So if your team is convicted about, say, creating accessible technology for everyone, they'll embrace a pivot from hardware to software. Why? Because the vision is still intact. But if their commitment was only to selling this specific device, then yeah, that change is going to feel like a betrayal. The vision has to be the anchor.
That makes so much sense. And it clarifies the stakes when you look at these big historical examples. The article brings up Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech. He was obviously going for conviction, not just commitment.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, think about that moment. He wasn't up there with a PowerPoint. He wasn't presenting a detailed analysis of economic benefits or statistical projections.
If he had, he might have convinced a few people for a little
For a
while.
little while, exactly.
Instead, he convicted them.
He convicted them. He painted this vivid, almost spiritual picture of a possible future, a shared destiny. The people listening weren't just agreeing to march for a day. They were convicted by a vision where their children would be judged by their character. They started seeing themselves as architects of that future.
It's the power of vision over pure logic. Logic changes when new data comes in, but a vision like that, it fundamentally changes your identity. It creates that rock-solid resilience.
Right. If they were only convinced by favorable polls, well, polls can swing.
But because they were convicted by the vision, they walked through fire for it, through jail time, through violence.
Exactly. And that completely flips the script on what leadership is. Which, brings us to the real application here. The leader's job, according to this article, isn't to convince people to follow. It's to inspire deep conviction in a shared purpose.
So leaders have to stop selling the what the features, the quarterly metrics, and start focusing entirely on the why. That's the big shift.
That is the shift. When leaders only talk about the what, they are, by definition, being transactional. They're stuck in head knowledge. To get to conviction, to that heart fire, they have to reveal why any of it matters. They have to share the vision, the higher purpose.
Let's make this real for a second. Let's say I'm leading a software team. The what is pretty clear. Build this new payment platform by the end of Q3. The why has to be bigger than that, right?
It has to be. The why can't just be about hitting a corporate target. It needs to connect to something larger than the organization itself. For that software team, the why could be, we're building the platform that will empower 1 million small business owners, letting them finally compete with the giants and reshape their communities.
Ah, okay. So you're not just writing code.
You're not just writing code. You're building economic independence. You're connecting that daily, complex work to a huge, transformative outcome.
And it seems like that connection to a greater good is what creates the emotional anchor you need for conviction. Without it, work is just. It's just a job, a means to a paycheck.
And that's the question this brings back to you, the listener. How do you find that higher purpose, even in work that seems, mundane on the surface? The scale of your influence as a leader really depends on your ability to connect a specific daily task, a code review, a quarterly report, to changing lives.
Okay, so we're all on board. We need to get from head knowledge to heart fire.
Yeah.
But how? How does a leader actually do that?
Yeah.
The Phoenix Performance Partners piece says this path requires courage. Why start with courage?
Because sharing a truly transformative vision, it makes you vulnerable.
Right.
Both you and your team. It is so much easier and safer to hide behind a spreadsheet than it is to stand up and declare a bold vision of the future. You risk failure on a much bigger stage, and you're asking your team to invest their identity, not just their time. That's a huge ask.
Okay, so what are the concrete actions? The article lays out 3 key steps. The first one is speaking boldly about that higher purpose.
Right, and this means you have to drop the safe corporate jargon. Speaking boldly is about putting your vision out there without hedging, making it emotional, making it clear. It means articulating a future so compelling people can't ignore it, even if it feels a little exposed for you as the leader. You have to embody it first.
And the second action is connecting those individual roles to the big outcomes. How do you do that without it sounding like some cheesy motivational poster? You're not a bricklayer, you're building a cathedral thing.
You avoid the cheese by being specific and consequential. So take the person in accounting processing invoices. Instead of a generic, You support the mission, you say. Because you process this invoice today, the critical medical supply shipment gets released. That means 3 rural clinics have the meds they need by morning. Your accuracy and speed are literally the link between life-saving supplies and delayed treatment.
Wow. Okay. That's not a poster. That's a direct line of sight. It shifts the job from an accounting task to a humanitarian one.
Exactly. You help them see that their daily work, no matter how small it seems, directly enables the vision. That's the heart fire catching light in their specific role.
And the third action is about painting that future picture, kind of going back to the MLK idea.
Yes. It's helping people see themselves not as employees, but as main characters in a story that's unfolding right now. You're helping them find a purpose that's bigger than their job description. You're constantly reinforcing the destination, making sure every small task is understood as a vital step on this huge collective journey.
And the result of all this, I mean, we've come full circle. When a team is just convinced, they'll follow as long as things are good,
Yeah.
and they'll probably do the bare minimum.
But when they are convicted, they will follow you through fire. They will innovate. They'll find ways around obstacles you didn't even see coming. They'll sacrifice their own comfort because they're not just working for a paycheck anymore, or for you, or for the quarterly numbers. They're working for a vision that has captured their hearts and completely changed what they think is possible.
They aren't just working for the organization.
They are the organization's future.
And that brings us right back to the high stakes we talked about at the start. The answer to that question, are you inspiring commitment or conviction? That answer determines if your influence lasts for a season or if it transforms generations. It's the line between being an effective manager and a truly transformational leader.
And that's the key takeaway. We've established that commitment, it's a transactional choice, it's based on logic. But conviction is a deep, profound identity shift, and it's powered by a shared vision. That difference is the fuel for real resilience.
It's just a powerful and I think necessary way of reframing how influence actually works. So to wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with the final question posed in the Phoenix Performance Partners article. What deeper conviction will you help your team discover today?
A great question to sit with.
It is. We'd encourage you to think about the specific daily changes you need to make in how you communicate, to shift from simply arguing with data to passionately and courageously communicating destiny.